The aircraft has three axes: the roll, the pitch, and the yaw, each controlled by a different flight control. The roll is controlled along the longitudinal axis through the ailerons. The pitch is controlled through the lateral axis through the elevators at the tail. And finally, the vertical axis is controlled by the rudder. As we pitch the aircraft down, we can see the speed accelerates as shown in the airspeed indicator. And when we pull back on the yaw to get the aircraft upwards, the speed decreases as shown in the airspeed indicator. Our first wave we're going to try is 296 pounds. So now we're going to apply full throttle. And we're going to keep the yaw up, down, so the plane wants to go up. And then we can see here that the speed is going to increase to about 60-65 knots. And then we'll have a takeoff. Now looking at the results, we saw that we have a speed of 65 knots and a distance of 1,300 feet. Now we're gonna apply a 600-pound weight to the plane. And similar, we're gonna apply the yoke down so the plane starts to go up. We already feel a little bit of resistance on the plane as it takes longer to accelerate. We can see the speed also increase here. And now we just take off and lift the feet. Now looking at this data, we see that the speed was 70 knots and 1,500 feet. Lastly, we're going to see the plane at 900 pounds. Again, we're going to apply the yoke so the plane takes off as soon as possible. And already we feel a lot of resistance as the plane looks like it doesn't want to accelerate. But in the end, we look at the velocimeter and we see that the plane speeds up. Now it's going to reach the same. And now we're going to soon take off. Although this one is more bouncy. This one took longer. As we see, the speed is 74 knots at a distance of 1,750. Firstly, we're gonna pause the simulator and make the plane go up. As we can see in the first 3 seconds, the arrows go up and until it reaches a speed of 70 knots. You can see the arrows starting to go down now. And then eventually going into no force at all and dropping. Looking at 0 knots when that happens. Now the plane is stalling, where we can see it with a negative force arrow. So we're going to point the nose down and it reaches 80 knots. Then we're going to put up, and as we can see, the force arrows go extremely high, pulling the whole plane up until it levels and it recovers from that stall. First, we're going to see the drag from the wheels. We see here in the airspeed indicator our current speed, and now we're going to deploy the wheels and we see how the speed decreases to about like 60 knots. And now we're going to see the drag from the flaps. So now we have the flags up and we can see at the top here where we can see the speed of the aircraft. It matches the one in the speedometer, and here we have the forces of the wings. From the left wing and from the right wing. So now we're gonna do the flaps up. So as we see here, we are going around 160, 163 around there for all 3 trials that we see, with lift in the wings of about 1,400. And we see that we have a drag of 44 newtons, 15 in the other one. This is obviously with the flaps up. And now we're going to see how the velocity changes with the flaps down. So as we can see now, we have the flaps down to the fullest it can go down. And the same, we're gonna see the speed. We see that we already goes much slower at 113 knots and around 110 knots. And then we can see the forces of the wings being around 1,400, 1,500 of lift and 150 of drag. So both increase, but as we expect from the flaps, is what it does. Same with the speed. Thank you so much for listening to my video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe that button. For the part one, we're gonna try landing at Seattle with the flaps up. As we can see, we are approaching the runway. We're in the final moments. Looking at the puppy lights on the left, we can see we have 2 whites, 2 red, meaning that we're at the correct height. And then we fastly make them all red as we approach the runway faster and faster until we cannot see them. Now we're trying to aim for these marks that signify where we want to land, and just as we're gonna touch, we're gonna put the yoke down to make the aeroplane go up, and we're gonna touch down, put the brakes and get the thrust off. Now for the flaps down, we see we have the flaps full down. Similar, we are at the final stages of landing. Now we can see the puppy lights, so as we have all whites, we can also see now that we have less speed at around 60 knots, which should go down later on. But we're going to try to aim a little more down to get those 2 whites, 2 red, which is where we want to go, and try to aim for the marks in the runway so we can land there. Again, we see that the puppy lights not only disappear, but they all turn red as we approach quickly the runway. And as we do before, we're gonna put the yoke up, and we're gonna put the back wheels first, and we're gonna apply the brakes now, and we're gonna take the full throttle. So for the part one, we're gonna put the center of gravity at -16, so at the back. And as we can see, the plane becomes very unstable and it's very hard to control, as we have -14.23, roughly around -14, -15 the elevation. And now we're gonna put it at the most forward we can. This is gonna make the plane way more stable, and as we can see already, we have a 0.23, 0.1 around those corners. As we know, the center of gravity really matters in the stability of an aircraft. The more forward, the more stable. And that's about it. Thank you very much. For part one, we're gonna land with a wingspan of 10 meters. As we can see, the plane is very unstable, and we do need to go at a speed of 120 knots to not get a stall. We do go a little bit off the runway due to this unstable, but we do manage to touch down. A bit rough of a touchdown, but we do manage to bring the plane to a stop. Now we're gonna land with a wingspan of 50 meters, and as we can already see, it's way more stable. It's way more efficient. We can reduce the knots to about a little bit higher of 60, 70 knots. This is due to the way that the 50 meters wingspan can glide more easily. And as we can see, we have a way more buttery touchdown compared to the 10. Although we do hit a bit of turbulence at the end, but we do get more buttery due to the wingspan. Now we're going to try and take off with a wingspan of 10 meters again. As we can see, we try to accelerate, but it does take a long time to take off. We are going to put the yoke back so we can take off as fast as we can. We really try there, but we fail, and the plane will just not go up. until now that it's going to start increasing, and then we already take off with a distance of 2,500 feet and 106 knots. And now we're going to take off with a wingspan of 50 meters, which already we could expect a lower distance, and we immediately see that the plane just takes off on its own. Less speed, less distance, or a runway of 358 feet and 50 knots. Way lower. Thank you very much. For this week's lesson, we're going to see the takeoff with a wingspan of 15 feet. So we're going to take off. We're going to do these 3 tries, and I'm going to put the results for the 3 tries. But basically all for the same procedure. We pull as fast as we can to make sure the plane takes off as fast as it could. All with full throttle, all with the same power. And we're going to take off. We see the distance here is 2,100, 2,200, and around 2,700 for 15 feet. Now we're going to see the wing length of 30 feet. Same thing as before. We're going to see the procedure. We're going to take off as fast as we can. As we can see, we already take off much faster than before. Here we have lengths of 300 feet, 600 feet, and around 300 feet again, all shorter. And now we're going to go with the final length of 60 feet. And already we can tell it's going to go extremely fast to take off. It's going to take a little bit more time to accelerate due to more resistance, but we're going to take off as fast as we can, and there we go. We already took off, and we already can see that it's like 200 feet, 150 feet of runway, and around 150 again, always shorter than before. Thank you very much for listening. So for lesson 9, we're going to modify the horsepower of the plane. We're going to start with 150 horsepower. And as we can see in the speed, it goes around 120 knots. It is worth mentioning that the plane is at full throttle at all times, no flaps deployed, and it's flying as straight and as level as possible. Yeah, it maintains the 120. Now we're going to go to 300 horsepower, double the amount. So here we can see already it's a little bit more wobbly, but that's fine. We just level out, and we can really see that it's going around 140 knots, which is more than 150 horsepower, which is expected. And now we're going to double it again to 600 of horsepower. This time the plane is going to go way faster, so we can see it's around 200 knots and it's still speeding up. This one was harder to maintain level, but maintaining level, it even increased more to 210, 200 and around there. Thank you so much for watching.